All right. Should we go ahead and get started then?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. All right then. I'm Robyn Monaghan. I am the chair of Baldwin County Democrats. And the reason, and my presentation tonight is partnering with the press. How I happen to be here tonight giving this presentation is because I was a newspaper reporter for most of my working years. I graduated from University of Iowa School of Journalism and worked in different press outlets in the Midwest, Iowa, and many of my years were in the Chicago media area, where I worked for the Kankakee Daily Journal and the Indiana Times and the Joliet Herald. Also, Chicago Parent Magazine I worked for. Okay, so anyway, that's why I'm here telling you about this today. So the first section is how to make the most of the media. So the first point I want to make is the press is our friend. I think because of kind of right-wing demonization of the press and kind of Southern indoctrination often gives a person a knee-jerk reaction that the press is an antagonist. And so when you see a press call, you think, oh no, this is bad. But actually, we should welcome every opportunity to get our message into eyes and ears, and the press is an excellent way to do that. Another reason why it's good to have press coverage is because it enters, if it's an event, it enters it into the public record. So, so the first thing is you want to get to know your local reporters. You can do this through a press release, because in the press release we'll see in a few minutes, you write the press release and you give a contact, and so this way you're going to have interactions with the reporter, and so that gives you an opportunity to get to know them and they know you. Um, Also, if they know you and you have talked to them before, and when I say talk to them, I mean, giving them quotes, and help them with their story, then they're more likely to call you again because they know you, they dealt with you before. They figure, yeah, here's somebody, here's somebody that I can call them up. They're going to give me a quote. I can get my work done, which is basically what reporters want to do. So, and getting quotes from people is part of the job. It's something you have to do before you can close up and go home. So, so press release is one way to get to know your local reporters. Also, you should introduce yourself at events. If they go up to them and say who you are and tell them you're press friendly and give them a card, and you're open to calls, which means you will give them a quote. If you call me, I will probably give you a quote. So we'll get into more detail. This is kind of an overview here. Another way to get to know your local reporters is through news tips. And that's kind of depending on your relationship with the reporter. In this area, I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and so I know I kind of know these people. I mean, a couple of them I can text them and say, hey, this is going to happen, or this isn't going to happen, or something, here's something you can know. But also you can send them an email for a news tip as well. If even if you don't want to write a whole press release, once you develop that relationship with the reporter, you can call and give them news tips. Hey, this is happening. And since they know you, that's likely to get attention. So the next point is always answer press calls. And the reason for that is to let them know that you're a dependable source. Again, a reporter wants to call somebody that they're pretty sure is going to talk and is going to give you a quote, again, just so that they can get their work done more quickly and efficiently, which is pretty much what this is all about, is making this easy for the reporter. If you make it easy for them, they're more likely to cover your whatever it is you're trying to get ink for, or on TV as well, same thing. So, reporters are in deadline, and waiting hours to respond may take you right out of the running to get any ink or airtime. Now, however, you can, if you say, "Oh my God, the reporter's calling me. I have no idea what I'm going to say." You can say, "Let me get back to you in 5 minutes." Okay, then you can pull yourself together, think of something intelligent to say on the subject, and call them back in 5 minutes. But you can't, you can't put that off till later this afternoon. That needs to be addressed right away. For TV, I'll ask for an hour because I'm going to need to put my makeup on, get myself together, and also think of something smart to say. So, but let them know, yeah, you're ready to play ball. It's just going to be a couple of minutes, because if not, they'll just go on to the next thing, because they, they got to get somebody to talk. So always answer press calls. Okay, say something. Don't say no comment. Whatever you do, do not say no comment, because that looks like you have something to hide. Either that or you're too stupid to figure out anything to say. So don't say no comment. Again, it's if you don't know what you're going to say it's okay. Say, "Let me get back to you in 5 or 10 minutes," and get back to them. Okay? Off the record is a very important thing to know about, because once a reporter identifies herself to you that is a reporter, everything you say is on the record. So, if you want something to be off the record when you're talking to a reporter, you must assume everything you say is public. If you want it to be off the record, you must say these words before you utter the words or immediately after. You must say "off the record." If you're going to tell them like something for background, or you want them to know that, but you don't necessarily want that to see that in print. So just know that if you're talking to a reporter, everything you say is going to be fair game. Don't have a long and frankly, a reporter will try to pull you into a conversation feeling friendly. And you just get to feeling comfortable and everything, and you may, in order to get you to say something that you might not want to say. So you really want to be careful of that. But don't do this. Don't have a long conversation with the reporter. Like, let's say I talked to you for 20 minutes and then you go, "Oh, this was all off the record." I'm like, well, there went 20 minutes of my life. There are instances where a reporter may want to talk about where background will be, just for background on the story, to know what's going on without having to put it on. But go ahead and tell them it's off the record if it's off the record, so that they don't sit there and waste their time, because, you don't want to irritate the reporter that you're trying to build a relationship with. And that is really annoying when people have a long conversation. "Oh, that's off the record." Anyway, don't fail to respond. There's really little that's worse than did not respond to questions. You don't want to see that in print. So if I call you or if I email you and I email you questions, or call, and then I'll call too, and you just don't respond at all, you just hope that if you ignore it, it will go away, then you're going to get a fail to answer questions. Okay, and that looks really bad. It looks like, so what I'll do is I'll give you a "did not respond to questions," or, this is a good one, "fail to answer questions about this uncomfortable issue," and then I'll list it all out. So the questions aren't going to go away. They're going to be in the paper. And it's also going to be in the paper that you chose not to answer those questions. So you never want to "did not respond to questions" or "fail to answer questions about," and then I list them all out again, what it is that you didn't want to answer. It just looks like you have something to hide. So, any questions on that before we go on to the next one?
I'll say
Okay.
that you have generalized. This is dealing with somebody like Robyn, who is a legitimate and credible journalist. So let's put that there's a caveat here as the description or the situation you and I talked about at the beginning of this with 1819 News. The best thing is to not respond. Do not respond. You're giving them credibility. So all I'm saying is you are right when you're dealing with legitimate
Mhm.
journalists. But I hate
Yes,
to
that's
say
a
that,
good acceptance, Susan.
yeah, there are
For sure.
caveats to this. So, okay, continue on. I'm interested.
Okay. Next is writing press releases. Okay, so this is an example of a press release that I pulled, and we'll just go over we're going to go through this briefly, and then I have a little bit more on this. So we'll start with your company letterhead or your logo, whatever it is. I like to put, I couldn't find one that was exact right. I like to put press release above the headline, or for immediate release. This has the press contacts at the bottom. It's fine. I usually put them at the top, but it doesn't, it's not really terribly important. For a headline, about the headline, whatever you do, please do not say, Baldwin County Democrats are pleased to announce. We know you're happy to announce it because you are sending us a press release about it. So do not say that. What your headline should do is it should tell you something, the most compelling thing about the issue that you want covered. So so don't say we're pleased to announce that Josh Brown is running for Bay Minette mayor. Say, if Josh Brown is elected, Josh Brown running to be the youngest and first ever Black mayor of Bay Minette. Or the most compelling thing about it, the most interesting thing. And or it can also be, you can think about how this is going to affect people's lives instead of arborists get grant to plant many trees. Say, oh, soon you'll see a bunch of trees along Main Street. How it's going to affect people's lives. And it should be, this is 18 words. 18 words seems like a lot of words for a headline. But anyway, so after that, same things with your first sentence. It should be short, but again, it should reiterate that what is the most interesting thing about this? How is this going to change somebody's life? What is this going to mean for you in your life? That's what we call this the lead. That's what your lead should do. I was taught it should be 10 words, but you know, it should be short. It should definitely only be one sentence. Certainly only one sentence. As short as possible. Did somebody have a comment? Okay. Then you put your date line, which is just city, month, day, year. And then quote. So in every news story, a reporter is going to have to get more than one, probably at least two different sources in the story, two different people in the story. So if what you want to do is give them those quotes that they need, so that, because if I don't have to bother, if I got the two quotes I need and I don't have to bother fooling around calling people till I find somebody who has anything to say, then that just makes my day easier. And I'm more likely to choose this one than the other ones where, I'm going to have to do a lot more work. If it's right there for me, that's a big plus. So one of the quotes, though, can be from you. You can quote yourself in these because I can use that. And then someone else involved in the story. So at least two. And then while I'm thinking of it, it's good to to include headshots of those people that you can quote if you have them. Because then now I don't have to fool around looking for a photo. I got the photos right there. I can put all this down on paper and I can go to lunch. Okay. Your contacts can go either at the top or at the bottom. The press contact, this is going to be the people that the person that they call, not necessarily the person that wrote it, but the person that they're going to call if they want background or more information. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Oh, back to the lead grabber. I kind of went over that. Compel readers to read on with a captivating and unique description. This was for a gaming company, so yeah, I think we went over pretty much that. It should look pretty much like that, except for I like to write press release or for immediate release at the top. All right, the press release. So Reporters Day. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to either look through my mail in the olden days, or I'm going to look through my inbox and I'm going to look at all of my press releases. And so based on what I just said, I'm going to choose, you know, the one, some of them, you know, I mean, you're going to have to cover certain events, but because they're just absolutely newsworthy. But then I'm going to look through these and see which one is more newsworthy, and that means has an impact on people's life. So then I'm going to look through those and pick and save some and throw most of them out. So the press release should be no more than 300 words. And now we're going to get into a little bit of basic journalism, not too much. I can't get, you know, it's not a whole course on journalism here, but in general, I always like to tell this story really, because the first day I went into Journalism 101, Ms. Simmerhorn went to the blackboard and she wrote this. Use short words. Use short sentences. Use short paragraphs. And that is the Bible of journalism. One of the reasons why we use short paragraphs, for example, is because it's more inviting to the eye on the page. If you have a big gray page with a whole bunch of words not broken up, that is, it's off-putting, it's intimidating. It's not accessible. So you definitely want to use short paragraphs, no more than 2 or 3 sentences. And every quote has its own paragraph. So it's just that the more you fit this to form, the more likely you are to get your press release chosen. The press release should give the 5 W's of journalism, which is who, what, why, where, and when, and why. Those are things that should be in the release. I already said this, include 2 quotes from 2 sources. One of them can be yourself, 2 or 3 sentences each. Again, don't start your press release with "we are pleased to announce," because we kind of figured you're sending us a press release that have something you want to announce. First sentence should answer, why should our readers care about this? What does it mean for their lives? Don't use industry jargon. Use plain words that everybody can understand. And that's the basic principle of journalism, really. Use easy, plain language that everyone can understand. So, okay. So do we have any comments or questions on that or additions?
I'll say something real quick. Sorry, I had to get my thing off of audio.
Yeah, no, appreciate
I
it.
was going to just say one. You can describe it to him. Just describe the inverted pyramid, or are you going to get into that?
Oh, I was not. I wasn't going to get into the inverted pyramid, but
Okay.
so, but yeah, that it's the most important things to the least important things. So, or the most compelling things to the least compelling things in order. So you want to put the most important information at the top going down. And the idea is this: if somebody doesn't get to the bottom, you want the most interesting things at the top. And another reason why you want all the interesting things at the top is because because it's the most interesting, and that'll pull them through the story. Did you have something else to add about the inverted pyramid, Susan?
I would say that it's also a possibility that if it's too long, they'll just cut it from the bottom. They won't even
Yeah.
think to read what you've written to say if, oh, maybe I should have not cut from the bottom. But yeah, you always want to make sure that you have all the important stuff way in the beginning, because there is
Yeah.
a possibility that they may cut your press release.
Yes, and that's not even the reporter. A lot of times you'll finish your story and you send over the editor and it won't fit on the page, and they'll just cut it from the bottom. They don't care what it says. They'll just cut
That's
it.
right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. To make it fit. All right. Now we simply have a list of media contacts. And this, when I started doing this, and Scott helped me with this, actually, most of these are Scott's. I have my own, but when I started to put this together, I realized that it's regional. So you need to identify the reporters in your area. For example, uh, John Sharp is the AL.com reporter for Baldwin County. So I have a relationship with him. We call each other, if he calls, I always answer. We know each other. We go back and forth. He will call me for background. But your local reporter for AL.com would be somebody else. And so, I can't really be of that much help on that. Alabama media, there's Josh Moon at APR and at AL.com. Like I said, identify your area reporter. So I can't be terribly helpful on that. However, the news organizations, these were supplied by Scott, and these are where he sent his footage to get it on TV or in these podcasts. And so honestly, it is so easy. I mean, the first time we sent to Rachel Maddow, it got on. And all you do, this is how easy it is. You pull, it's just a regular email and you attach your video. You might say a few words from it, but actually with these big the big TV stations or networks, you probably they're probably not gonna, probably don't see much of anything about it except for where it is and when it was. Yeah. So having been all through all of that, the next portion of the presentation will be Scott McNair. And Scott is the guy. He is he's with Invisible, and we've been partnering with Indivisible for a lot for all of our protests. So we've been working hand in hand here, and so I'm gonna let Scott. I thought, as a matter of fact, I haven't even heard it yet. I thought it would be really interesting to hear Scott's story about how he shot the video, and then how, and it went viral. So are you here ready? Can you share your story with us, Scott?
I'll be happy to. I hope everybody can hear me okay. And first, let me start by saying thanks for having me on here. I hope I don't butcher things too badly. Let me start by giving a little history about myself. I grew up in a media household. My dad was a madman for an advertising firm called Burson Marsteller back in the 60s and 70s. And at the time, they were the largest advertising firm in the US. And then sometime in the mid 70s, he spun off into his own marketing company, and he ran that for about 20 years until he retired. My mom was a professor of education, and after she retired in the mid 80s. She became the chair of the Baldwin County Democrats. So I spent a lot of my teenage years, running phone banks during election season, or walking through city or town streets, putting flyers in mailboxes, that type of thing. And when I graduated high school, I got a journalism scholarship, and I wound up working in radio for several years. And mainly in smaller markets, small radio markets. So I did a lot of city council meetings and town hall meetings and that type of stuff. So and then after that, I went back to college, and I became an application and web developer, and I've been doing that for about 30 years. I spend way too much time on the internet, and I guess that kind of got me where I am now. So as far as the Barry Moore story goes, I went to his town hall meeting on August 27th and in Daphne, and I sat on the front row. I was planning on recording it. I wasn't planning on doing anything viral with it. I just want it for my own personal posterity. So I had my handy Samsung Galaxy phone recording it, and they started the meeting, and they opened it with a prayer, and then Barry Moore came up, and he went into the spiel about, the big beautiful bill and how it's the most wonderful thing on the planet and better than sliced bread. And then, he went on to talk about, sleepy Joe Biden and the radical left agenda. You know the story. Well, apparently everybody else in the audience kind of knew the story. They came to hear the truth of the matter, and he was not speaking the truth of the matter. He was telling a lot of outright lies, and the audience was calling him out on those outright lies. Every time he tell a lie, they'd say, no, 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 that's not true. What actually is true is yada yada. And he was not expecting that, and then that threw him off. So after he got through his 10-minute spiel, they got to the Q&A portion. And so his assistant takes the first question out, and I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure not to butcher this question, because it was a beautiful question. It was absolutely poignant question. He said, who pays the tariffs? Is it the consumers or is it the exporting country? Really simple question. You can answer it in half dozen words. And so Barry Moore, he nods and he smiles and he leans against the podium and he takes a deep breath and he opens his mouth and he proceeds to absolutely entirely not answer the question in any way, shape, or form. And basically what he was trying to do is trying to steer the conversation away from tariffs and into something that was more in his wheelhouse. And the audience wasn't having any of that. They were like, that's not the question. Answer the question. So they'd bring him back to the question, and then he tried deviating again, and then they started shouting. They said, who pays the tariffs? And then he started talking about the Marshall Plan in World War II. Okay. And they said that's not answering the question. Who pays the tariffs? Who pays the tariffs? And they just kept on steering him back. And the rest of the meeting was downhill. It was absolutely downhill for Barry Moore. I'm not going to say I felt sorry for him, but I did feel something there. But they kept on it. Every time he tried to change the topic, they steer him back. Every time he told a lie, they call him out on the lie. And there were a few times where his assistant would draw a question, and he'd ask the question, but he would ask an altered version of the question, where he'd omit half of the question and change the wording on the other half of the question. And people in the audience were shouting, well, that's not what I said. So I've been to my fair share of town hall meetings, like I said, and usually the way they end is after the last question, the speaker does a brief summary of his stance and tells you how important it is for us to all vote, and thanks him for coming out, and everybody drive safely and be sure to get out and vote. And then he spends the next 10 minutes walking around the room, shaking hands and, meeting people. And that absolutely did not happen on this. It was supposed to be an hour-long meeting, and after 40 minutes, he answered the last question. He turned his mic off and he shoved it in his assistant's hand and he ran out the back door. And meanwhile, I'm sitting here and I'm recording the whole thing. And so I'm done recording. I stand up, I slip my phone in my pocket, I walk out to my car and get in the car. And I may or may not have broken some speeding laws on the way back. I don't know. I was really excited to get back to my computer. I got back to the computer and I uploaded the video, and Then I sent a link to some friends of mine and I said, hey, look at this. Look at this disaster. And then I posted it on my Facebook, and then I posted it on Reddit. And then I said, this is a pretty newsworthy story. So let me reach out to the local news organization. So I went out and I gathered the email addresses that Robyn showed you for our local stations, 3, 5, 10, 15, and sent them contact. And then I thought about it for a few minutes and I said, they're probably not going to cover this. I got a feeling they're not going to cover this. So I expanded my net and I reached out to al.com. I sent them an email. And then I sat for a few more minutes and I said, let me expand the net some more. And that's when I reached out and I emailed NBC, CBS, ABC. And then I emailed Rachel Maddow at MSNBC. I reached out to Midas and Incrediberry, and I'm going to apologize because I did not reach out to Fox News. I didn't reach out to One America. I didn't reach out to 1819. I know. I should have done my due diligence, but so sue me. And then I went to bed because it'd been a long day. And the next morning, this was Thursday morning, I woke up and NBC had picked up the story. And they had it on their news website, along with a link to my video and also clips from my video on the story itself. And so I was excited about that. And then other news organizations started picking up the story based upon that, and the ball started to roll at that point. As more news agencies picked it up, more news agencies picked it up from them. It got to the point where I didn't even have to promote it anymore because they were promoting it for me. By the end of the day, it had gotten worldwide attention. And when I say worldwide, I mean literal worldwide. I think the farthest out story I saw was from Singapore. And I don't think you can get much more worldwide from Daphne, Alabama to Singapore. So that was pretty thrilling. And I also had a Google News page open with a search term for Barry Moore, and every so often I'd hit refresh and there'd be a couple, 3 more stories that would pop up about it. It was just constant. So it did it that way for the rest of the week, of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday I'm at home and hanging out with my wife, and my phone beeps. I look and I've got an email message that came in, and the email subject is urgent ABC news request. Interesting. So I take my phone and I'm reaching to push the thing to read the email. Before my finger even gets to the phone, my phone rings and the caller ID says ABC News. Interesting. So I answer the phone. Hello. Yes, this is Scott McNair, and yes, that's my YouTube channel. You'd like to know if you can use my my video on ABC World News tonight? Okay. So this, like I said, was at 3 o'clock, and by 5:30, and my wife can attest to this. She's got video of this. I went and I got the breakfast table straight back chair, and I moved it into the living room 3 feet away from the TV, and I'm sitting there in front of the TV. If my mom was alive and she'd seen me doing this, she would have screamed at me about me putting my eyes out. But I was watching that thing with rapt attention as my video showed up on ABC World News tonight. So, and it actually made it, yes, it got the news coverage, but it also actually made it to the next level beyond the news. It kind of turned into a minor meme of sorts. Barry Moore now has the nickname Backdoor Barry Moore, and that's gotten a little bit of traction. Also, somebody made a sticker. You got it right here. I don't know if you can see it. It says "Bye Felicia." There's a story to that, and if you're interested, I can get into that. But and also it made it onto Wikipedia 2 different times that I'm aware of. For one, if you look up Barry Moore, then it shows in the tenure section, I believe, it's got a paragraph about his disastrous Daphne town hall meeting. And then also, if you search for "Bye Felicia," it's listed there as well. So that basically covers the basic framework of the story. And I didn't go too much into the nitty gritty, just basically the basic overview. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But in any case, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I think one of the most important things that you know, that what Scott's narrative shows us is it doesn't have to be anything special. You know, you don't have to really have any special skills or special equipment. You don't have to know somebody. All you have to do is have that compelling video and send it. And you know, we've done this what, 2 or 3 times, and we've got on, well, you know, like Rachel Maddow, we've gotten on every time we sent to these big media, we have got on it. So it doesn't, you know, it does for this kind of thing, it doesn't take anything special. Now, Scott, what you just had your Samsung phone? I mean, did you have any special equipment?
Nope, just the phone and a
Mhm.
good view. I was on the front row, so I had a good view, and that was about it.
And did you send the whole, did you send all the video, or did you send
No,
clips you thought were good? Did you edit?
I did not edit it initially. I just put the whole thing, the whole shoot match on YouTube, and I sent him a link to YouTube, and I said, here it is. Now, later on, I did go behind and create some reels out of them. You know, here's a 2-minute clip of this question and a 2.5-minute clip of this question. And now what I found interesting about that was, you know, I can keep track of my views through YouTube. And what I found interesting about those, I did not promote those reels or shorts or whatever you want to call it. I didn't promote them at all. I just created them and stuck them on my page. And they got, I don't know, like 500 or 1,000 views per each one of those without me even saying a word about it. So hindsight 2020, if I'd have done those reels to begin with and then sent links to those out, I probably would have gotten a lot more traction than I did get. So
That's that's a good point. That's a good to know. So yeah, yeah.
So
Let's
I want to
open up to
mention,
questions now.
okay, good. So I wonder, did you write an article to go with it, or was it just the video?
I did not write an article. I sent the video, I sent a link to the video along with a subject line of something along the line, and it varied from news agency to news agency, but something along the lines of Barry Moore hosts disastrous town hall at Daphne, Alabama, along with a very brief, short, 1 paragraph description of it, and then a link. And then if you have any questions, you can contact me here. And that was about it.
Well,
So
and I can
yeah,
say, oh,
I was just going to add, when you're submitting video, you don't have to do this press release and all that. You don't have to do any of that for submitting video.
okay. I was with a group from Indivisible that went to a Dale Strong meeting up in the 5th District the next night, and they cited the Barry Moore footage as a reason for keeping us out, which they were
Yeah,
probably going to keep us out anyway, but.
I've got a feeling that we've probably seen the last of open town hall meetings for a while from the Republican Party. One other thing I noticed, if I can add, and it's very unfortunate, and it's very sad, but it's unfortunately very true, and that is that if there's a scandal involved, you're going to have a lot better chance of getting that catch with the media than if it's just a feel-good story. And that's very sad, but it is what it is, because yeah, it was a very scandalous video and they grabbed onto it. And meanwhile, 1 week later, Will Boyd came to Mobile to do a town hall meeting, and I recorded that one too. And it was an hour and a half long. It was a great presentation. I thought I was thoroughly impressed with it. I put it up exactly the same. I didn't give it the national push because I didn't think it would get the national response, but I did push it locally, and I got 30 views. So yeah, sure, it's a great story, but they're not going to pick it up because it's not going to generate clicks. So
Right. And here's the thing to remember. People talking quiet, people having a calm public discussion is not news. People yelling and screaming, news. Even in all fiction and storytelling, one element of the story is conflict. And you may be announcing, oh, you know, street, okay, there's no conflict there, but most part, you know, for a news story, conflict was one of the main elements that you're going to have. So again, you know, that's why we don't hear much happy news, because it just isn't compelling. It's like nothing to see here. So it's sad. It is sad, but that is
Mhm.
true. So if you
That's
can
why
work
you
any
got.
conflict in at all, like if the mayor, like somebody voted against the trees, or there was a group who didn't want the trees. If you can get that in there,
Mhm.
then that helps. It's sad but
And
true.
also,
It's sad.
it is sad but true. And another thing I've noticed, uh, if you watch a lot of YouTube videos, you know, people have YouTube channels, and they'll have their their I don't know what they would call it, but basically their catch screen, what you see when you're browsing through the videos, and it's oh, here's 3 things you should do on your next vacation and 2 things you must never do. And people are going to click on it because they want to find out, what should I not be doing. Um, but I thought that was something interesting. If you want to get some catch to your headline, basically slip some
Yeah.
conflict in there if it's worthy to do.
More questions? Susan, do you have anything to add? Susan is a journalist as well.
I love your story, Scott. I mean, you're a rock star. And actually, I mean, we all wish we could be at the right place at the right time, you know, to get something like that. Normally, as I don't know what I know most of you on here, our job is writing press releases, announcing events or meetings, or maybe helping candidates. Ours are really kind of sublime. We're trying to get their photo in the newspaper or our event on the news in the newspaper. So we don't get to do the fun things like that much anymore. But very much love your story.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Hmm.
I lucked out. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I lucked out. I
Oh,
got,
you did. Yeah.
yeah, I got lightning in a bottle, and I managed to write it. So
And you knew how to handle it. So that was great.
Yeah. What I want to leave you with most of all is, this is not hard. You don't, you know, the press release, I've taught you the skill about that, but Scott's story it really doesn't have anything to do with that. That's a whole different animal when you're just setting video like that. I just want to make it clear that you don't have to go through all that if you're submitting video, an announcement, but even, if you have, even if you're announcing an event, try to think of something something interesting, instead of saying, oh, we're going to have an event Tuesday at the VFW or whatever it is. Don't say that. Tell the most interesting and compelling thing that's likely to happen about at that event. Why would I want to go there? So, and start with that.
Well, I do want to add something. For those of us that are writing the normal everyday stuff, I do advise you, some of these smaller newspapers can't always fit in your full press release. If it's just an event or a meeting, write the calendar listing as well so that they're not writing it for you. I'm a big control the message. As
Mm-hmm.
you were saying, if somebody calls you and wants to get a quote from you, that call you right back is the best thing you can do. Write down what you want to say. I like to put things in writing to them so then there's no question as to what you actually did say. And your local papers, for the most part, you do want to respond to. But as I mentioned before we started this meeting, there are some very unscrupulous right wing, I wouldn't even call them news organizations that
Rad.
are manufacturing information. And right now, a lot of Democrats, especially our county chairs and so forth, are targets for this kind of stuff. So just be very, very careful that you don't fall into their trap. I
Hmm.
know that you always say that they're your friends, but I talked to a reporter today who happens to be the secretary of my club, and we were talking about, because I had gotten another inquiry from 1819 News, and they were trying to get me to quote on the Charlie Kirk stuff. And I just ignore this guy. I mean, you do not respond to that sort of thing. No good will come of it. And so you just have to learn who you can trust. But for the most part, we're good people. And what we have to say is always, I think, reasonable. And so I trust that all of us will say the right thing all the time.
It's interesting you bring up 1819 news because we had of all the stories of all the places that covered it, only two of them were negative, and one of those was 1819 news.
That's right.
And according to them, we had a radical leftist agenda. We were paid by George Soros.
That's
We were
right.
shipped in
Yep.
from outside, and
Yep.
here I am. I'm 20 minutes away from where it happened. I'm still waiting on my check. So
That's right. That's
yeah.
right. Well, I did put out, I think all the county chairs got this from me today, just a little notice. Called it my tip of the day. Do not respond to anything from 1819 news. So, and hopefully,
Susan, you're going to be very upset. I just gave an hour-long interview to
oh, you did not,
1819.
Richard. Richard's lying. He did not. No, he didn't. Anyway. But good, Robyn. This was a great thing to have. You know what I was wondering, Robyn? Let's put, if you don't mind, some of this stuff up on our DECA library, and we can put some samples of some press releases. I've got plenty of, meeting press releases, calendar listings, event press releases that we can use as samples for the county chairs, at least.
That'd be great. That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's always nice to add something to the library.
Uh-huh. I have a couple I can submit if you like that I've written lately. So
Good. Yes, absolutely.
all right then.
I
Well-
have a comment and a question. Um, so for I don't know if you covered this already, but for news organizations, I've noticed they usually have a generic email address. If you don't know, the reporters don't have a relationship with them. It would be something like a new desk at so and so callletterstations.com. Just as a suggestion for that. I know down here in Mobile area we have that. Um, but usually that's only if I don't know anyone there, because reporters come and leave all the time, especially at TV stations. So just a suggestion, a comment on that, and then question. Again, I don't know if you talked about this as well, but when you send the press releases or anything, do you send it as a PDF or like a Word document where they can copy and
I'm
paste
so
it?
glad that came up.
Yeah.
Never send a PDF because what the reporter's going to do is take it and she's going to put it on the screen and doctor it all up and move it all around. If you send me a PDF, I have to literally sit there and retype it. And that is really annoying. Never send a PDF. I'm going to have to sit there and retype it. So,
All right.
yes.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Send a Word document.
And I'll say it can also be just the body of your email too. That's okay as well.
It can be. Mhm.
I write it as a Word document and then I copy it and paste it on the email. So they can edit it
That's cool.
if they need. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, then they don't even have to go to the trouble of, pushing the
Clicking on
attachment. It's
it.
right
And yeah.
there.
Yep.
Mhm,
Exactly.
mhm. Because they could just go, oh yeah, this doesn't sound too good, and not even look at it,
That keeps them from having to take the action of clicking to actually open the link, the attachment to it. It's right there in their face.
And I do write my own headlines all the time as well. A lot of times they really do appreciate that. They don't want to have to write the headline.
All right, do we have any other questions tonight?
Just a thank you very much. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks so much for having us. It was an honor.
All right, well, if anybody is interested, our next Blue School will be on October 21st. And I encourage everybody to join us.
Right.
Good night,
you,
Melanie. Thank you.
Yep.
Night.
That,
Thanks for
everybody,
Thank you,
have a
Scott.
Good
good
night,
evening.
county chairs. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
You guys so much.